My name's Caroline Taylor. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Whitfield, Bryson, and Mason, and my practice primarily focuses on personal injury law. One of the questions that I typically get from every client anytime that they come in or that a lawsuit may get started is, how long is this going to take? How long is it going to take that I could potentially have some sort of recovery at the end of this? So there are a few factors that play into that, and I'll try to kind of go through each separately. The first factor is just the extent of liability. So if you're in some type of wreck or some sort of lawsuit where liability is very clear, meaning the other person is definitely at fault, then typically those cases are faster to resolve than a case where liability is disputed, where we're not quite sure who's at fault, or it's going to be a little bit harder to prove who's at fault. So that's one of the main things that we kind of look at on the front end is liability disputed, or is it going to be very clear cut where we know exactly what happened and who's at fault, and we have evidence that can back that up. Along those same lines, the second factor that we kind of take into consideration is just the complexity of the case. Are there a lot of different players involved, a lot of different witnesses that we're going to have to talk to? Obviously, if there's two people, if it's a car wreck and just, one person in one car, one person in the other, and they have a wreck, that's going to be a much more clear cut and much less evidence that you have to gather than if there's 10 people that are involved in some other accident or some other potential lawsuit. So the complexity and the number of players that are involved is really going to either drag out or shorten the amount of time that you really have to exchange information and the amount of time that it's going to take to do so. The third thing that can kind of play into how long it's going to take a case to go from start to finish are the actual injuries. So for instance, if somebody's treatment, if you need to go in, you're in a wreck, you're in and out of treatment, say maybe it only takes 4 to 6 weeks, you're back to 100%, then your treatment's over, and at that point we can really talk about how to value your case. But on the other hand, if the injury is one that is going to take significant treatment that may span years, well, that's going to take a whole different analysis. We'll obviously want to wait as much as we can to get as much treatment in as we can so that we know your prognosis and we know going forward what your outlook looks like. But sometimes we can't wait that long. Sometimes we have to go ahead and file suit while you're still treating. In that case, we have the ability to then hire experts who can look at your treatment and look at your injuries and project out what you're going to need on a treatment basis going forward. So obviously, the length of time that you're getting treated is something that's going to come into play. The last thing that I would tell you that really comes into play on the length of a case is the aggressiveness of an attorney. Do you hire someone who kind of sits back and is a little bit slower and waits for things to happen, or do you hire, like us, an aggressive attorney that really gets out there and gets on the front of things and sends the letters that need to be sent and files suit immediately as soon as you can file suit to really press the case forward? So the attorney is really going to play into how quickly the case can progress as well. Unfortunately, I can't give you a specific time frame. Personal injury cases can take, a few short months, or they can span over a few years. So one piece of advice I can give you when you're in this position and you're trying to figure out exactly what you need to do, or you have some questions going forward, is just call a local personal injury attorney. It doesn't cost you anything to pick up the phone. And at that point, you can really talk to them about your specific facts, your specific situation, and let them kind of talk you through some of your options. There's typically no obligation for you to make that call or just to talk initially with someone to try to figure out your options, and it may really help you in determining what you want to do going forward. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, but hopefully this will help you in your case.